Welcome to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show, a real estate investment program. Listen and learn how to use real estate to build wealth and passive income streams for you and your family. We bring you experts every day to discuss and answer your questions on everything from single-family homes all the way up to 600-plus unit apartment complexes. And now, the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show.
Welcome to the show. My name is Al Gordon, and as always, we're working on your financial freedom. On today's show, I have some very special guests. These folks have done some incredible things when it comes to changing the direction of their life. You know, at one point, I think that they had gotten to a place in life where it was maybe time to consider retirement. And, you know, I think that concept resonated with them for a little while. But along that lines, they also wanted to do something more, not only for themselves, but for the people in their lives that they absolutely love. And as a result of that, they started doing things a little bit differently. They left where they were living, which was up in the, what I'll call the polar region of America, up in Detroit, Michigan, because it gets really cold there. And they came down to, well, slightly warmer Dallas, Texas. And when they did that, they made some significant changes. They decided that they were going to revamp a real estate portfolio that they had and become a little bit more, I'll use the word aggressive, in building up more assets. And I'll tell you what, the results have just been nothing but spectacular. They have immersed themselves in the multifamily space, and they've done great things. I mean, first they started with a 41-unit apartment community, then they moved on to a 70-unit apartment community, and then they got involved with another apartment community. And just when you think that, like, maybe that was enough, oh no, they took on another 180-unit apartment community. Then they went bigger, and they got a 256-unit apartment community. And just when you think that maybe they were done, oh no, they picked up their latest project, which I'll be honest with you, this particular project, I've had the opportunity to hear Cornell and Vivian talk about at one of our case study events. And you want to talk about transforming a property that was just a bad property. Well, maybe bad is not the right word, but this is a property that really needed their tender, loving care. And I'll tell you what, it got it. And, you know, they transformed this 103-unit community into just, you know, what I would consider probably their latest flagship in their massive portfolio. And by doing all of these things, they reinvented retirement for themselves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Cornell and Vivian on right now, because what I want you to do is to get to know them and realize that your journey in life may not be too different than the journey that they have taken in life. Cornell and Vivian, are you there?
Yes. Hi, Al.
Yes, we're here. Hi, Al.
Hey, it is so good to talk to you guys. It's been a little bit over a year since I've had you on the show. Even though you may not know it, I have been learning from you consistently, just watching the things that you do in the multifamily space. And I'll tell you what, I've gotten some great lessons from you when it comes to the ability to turn around an apartment community that is going in the wrong direction. And we're going to get to that today. But before we do, what I'd like to do is for the listeners in our audience that, you know, haven't had a chance to get to know you, tell us a little bit about who you are, what your background was, and maybe what, you know, retirement was for you way back in the Detroit, Michigan days.
Okay, well, I'll start. I'll kind of give you a background. Well, Cornell and I, we met. We've been married 32 years. We met in a real estate investment group back in Detroit, where I was tasked to be the property manager for the properties that we purchased. And Cornell was an aspiring real estate investor. And so he tapped into my knowledge, and we kind of hit it off, I guess you could say. and we got married. But after we got married, obviously we were already in tune with real estate, so we started buying real estate on our own on the side. But my main profession, I graduated from the University of Michigan, went into the computer programming field, and then after we had children, I wanted a little bit more flexibility in my schedule, so I went back to school and got my degree in interior design. And so I'll let Cornell give a little bit of his background, and then we can go from there.
Well, my background was actually pretty consistent. I started to work for Ford Motor Company early in my career. I actually spent 30 years with Ford Motor Company in Detroit as an engineer. But even as an engineer on the side, as she said, we tapped into some real estate there in Michigan, and that's how we met. We both had an interest in real estate, and we met as a small group, and next thing you know, we were married and took it further.
You know, I've never heard it described that way before, that, you know, the way to marriage is to join a real estate group. But I guess all things are possible, right?
Right. Find somebody who has similar interests and goals, and it's a marriage made in heaven, as they say.
Well, I'll tell you, 32 years, you guys are doing great, and I know you're going strong. But what were you doing for retirement back in the day when you decided to join this investing group?
Well, actually, as we said, we moved from Michigan back in 2007 after retiring from Ford Motor Company. And first year, we moved to Mansfield, not too far from Dallas. And we stayed, actually retired for totally retired for about 6 months of doing nothing. But sitting on the couch, you know, all day, I couldn't handle it. We had to have something to do. And luckily, Vivian listens to a lot of radio, talk radio.
I'll tell you what, let me cut you off right there, Cornell, because we're going to break. When we come back, we'll get more.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. It's time to turn up the volume and fine-tune your passive income plan so you can create the lifestyle you've always wanted.
Welcome back to the show. So, when we went to break, Cornell was describing what retirement was for him at one particular point in his life. And if I recall correctly, he said something along the lines of sitting on the couch for 6 months going absolutely nuts because he was bored out of his mind. And of course, we went to break at that point. So, Cornell, would you like to pick up the story from there and tell us why you stepped away from retirement and decided to get back involved with real estate investing?
Well, we actually had started off, as Vivian said, doing some real estate back in Michigan, and we wanted to tap into the market here, but at that time, you know, we didn't know much about the market here, and her listening to the talk radios, heard about lifestyle, and that retirement that time, and sitting on the couch, you know, of course, we had some investments in 401k, and I actually had a Ford pension, but they really weren't doing that well. So we had an opportunity there to take our money, like my money that I had as a pension for Ford Motor Company, and take control over it and put something in it where we actually had some control. So that was part of it.
Right. And we knew about real estate, but we were just trying to find the right avenue and the right way to go. And like you said, I listened to Dale on the radio, and my eyes just, you could have seen me. I was so excited. I was like, I found it. I found what we need. They have mentors, and we can go there, and they'll show us, the Dallas market. And so we were real excited to find Lifestyles, and it has been an absolute joy of a journey, just opening up our eyes to all the opportunities in real estate that we were not aware of. And then being in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, this area, you just can't beat it. That's why so many people are moving here. It's just an incredible area to grow, financially. So we we found the right map, and we followed it, and like you said, we've been going ever since. So no more sitting on the couch.
So this was all going on back in March of 2008. That's when you guys decided to join Lifestyles Unlimited, be a part of our community. And for a lot of our listeners, they may not recall what was happening in the country in 2008. I mean, we were literally at the beginning stages of multiple financial meltdowns. Not only in the stock market, but the real estate market had been overinflated due to the fact that the government basically pulled all restrictions off of lending, and lenders were doing all kinds of stupid things. And well, it came to a boil around that time. So the question I have for you is this. Were people looking at you like you had a third eye growing out of your forehead when they heard that you were interested in walking away from the safety and security of retirement income and going into what was perceived to be a collapsing real estate market?
Yeah, from that perspective, I think people, they may not have said it to our face, but you know, most people run in the other direction when things start to go south. But as we know now, that is the best time to buy, is when things are falling apart. You can pick up some really, really, really great deals. And if you're able to weather the storm and get to the other side, you can do very, very well. So that first property we bought in 2009, it was actually a foreclosure that we picked up.
That's right.
And yes, were we scared? It was our first larger property. Absolutely, we were scared. But we had the help of Lifestyles mentors, and they held our hand and walked us through it, and we followed directions. And guess what? It turned out really, really well.
So the property is in foreclosure, and what were you dealing with as far as occupancies and I mean, what was going on in that property at that time? Was it just a condition where the current operator just had to walk away because they couldn't make things work, or was this thing in really bad condition in other ways too?
Well, it was actually kind of a combination of both, because actually when we found that property and first put it under contract, it was not under foreclosure. We had it under contract, and unfortunately, whichever way you want to say, it was a California owner managing the property and the renovation from California, and it didn't go well. She ran out of money and lost the property. That's kind of what happened. So we actually had to come back around and buy it out of foreclosure after she lost it.
Wow, that does not sound like it was an easy process to tackle.
No, it wasn't. And it was what, maybe 50% occupied?
Yes.
And she hadn't finished all the, they hadn't finished all the units, so you couldn't even rent anything until you got in there and finished the unit. So, and the way they did the renovation, it really wasn't a whole lot left in a lot of the units. They just needed punch lists. Some of them did. Obviously some of them hadn't been touched, but quite a few of them, I would say 10 to 15 of them, they just need to go in and put doorknobs on, just punch list things. And she just ran out of money. She trusted a partner here in Dallas, and they just didn't manage the renovation properly. So that's what happened. And then, trying to fill it up, and they couldn't fill it up. They didn't have it finished. So it was a great opportunity. Let's put it that way.
Great opportunity for us.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I was around in the Lifestyles Unlimited community at that time, because I would have loved to watch you guys go through this. Now, I know you eventually turned that property around and got it stabilized and to the point where it was supposed to be, and then you ultimately sold it a couple of years later. How did you do on the sale?
Well, the sale went really well based on the market at that time. Obviously, now we're seeing much, much greater returns, but we were doing distributions, shortly after we purchased it, and we were doing distributions all the way to the end, and then also we were able to make, I don't remember what the return was on that one, it's been so long ago, But we did really well with that, even in that time period of 2011 when we sold it.
So along the way, before you got that thing sold, you picked up another 70-unit apartment community. And when we come back from the break, we're going to get into the story of that particular deal because it's actually a very complex deal. But these two were properly educated, properly supported, and more than capable to do the things that they needed to do. We'll be back right after this.
We're back with the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. We're here to answer your questions and help you become financially free.
Welcome back to the show. If you're just joining us, you've really missed out on a lot because I have Cornell and Vivian on the show. They've been Lifestyles Unlimited members since way back in 2008, and they have just really done the great things that they needed to do to build a dynamic portfolio, not only for themselves, but for the people that they love in their lives. And I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Along the way, not everything was, roses and tulips. I mean, they had some challenges along the way. And one of those challenges came when they decided they were going to invest some of their hard-earned money into a deal that somebody else had put together. And it was a 70-unit apartment community. This was way back in 2010. And that deal just kind of didn't do for them what it was supposed to do. So the reason I bring it up is because I think it's very important for you and the audience to understand that, first of all, real estate is very forgiving. Second of all, I think it's very important to understand that when you put the right people in front of the problem, you can get great results. So now that I set the stage for y'all, and hopefully I haven't set you up for failure, tell us a little bit about what was going on in that particular property and what caused you all to take action and change the path that property was going in.
Well, at that particular time, we talked about the other property that we had purchased in Dallas. We had purchased a 40-unit ourselves, and at the same time, we were looking at this other property, but couldn't take two down, so we knew the lead that was taking that property, so we decided to invest in it. And by comparison, we bought them about the same time. They were very similar, and we knew what was going on with the property that we had, so it was natural for us to see that the other one was not doing well.
Right. So since we were already in multifamily, and then we were doing the property in Dallas, some of the partners kind of got together and approached us about actually taking over the management of this property from the current person that was running it. So to protect our investment and to protect their investment, because we had a lot of retirees that put money into this property expecting a return, and expecting to live off of some of that money. So we felt an obligation to not only to protect our investment, but to protect their investment. And so we did. We took the property over in late 2010. And we basically it was hard. It was difficult because the property had just gone downhill. He was supposed to be renovating it and improving it, but he renovated it and then put in some pretty bad people back into the property. He put out bad people and then put in bad people. So it really didn't perform the way it should have. So we took it over and turned it around with some sweat equity and tears and whatever it took to turn the property back around and get it going in the right direction.
We did have, the support of Lifestyle, which really, really was instrumental in helping us do that.
Right. We had great mentors, and so we took what they said to heart and followed directions, and it worked out really well.
So really, this particular problem, when it really boiled down, it was a function of improper operation of the property.
Correct. It was just he just took his eye off the ball. He bought other properties after that, spread himself too thin. He tried to spread the manager across multiple properties, and that property just started to fail, and he couldn't turn the ship around fast enough. And so it was just a matter of just paying attention to the details, and the details like making sure that you're screening people when you're putting them in the property. Make sure they have higher standards than the people that you put out, so that the property doesn't turn around and get torn up, and you've got bad, activities going on the property, prostitution and drug deals, where you couldn't attract, the type of residents that you wanted, to attract after you renovate the property. So the whole reason for renovating it is so you can attract better residents, raise the rent, and thereby, increase the value of the property. So he was not following the lifestyles map, and he was not listening to the mentors, and therefore things didn't go well for him.
So once you guys figured out that was the root cause of the problem, how long did it take you to get that thing turned back around?
About a year, maybe 14 months before it really started to take off and turn around. And I would say 18 months for it to get to its optimum level, about 18 months. But right around the year mark, because we basically had to go back and re-renovate units that he had already renovated. So
wow.
It was a heavy lift. It was pretty much a value play at that point.
It was like starting all over again,
right,
actually.
With less money, a lot less money. But
you guys pulled it off.
Yes, we did. And like you said, real estate is very forgiving. You just have to, it's like raising a child, I say sometimes. And we often call, we'll call managing a property adult daycare. You have to, you have to pay attention to what's going on at the property and make decisions quickly about what's the best action to protect your investment. And so that wasn't there before. So we just paid attention. We were there, every day. We were working with the manager, tweaking things, tweaking rent, tweaking our requirements, qualifications, rental qualifications, whatever needed to be done. Pay attention to the market around you. What are other people doing? What are they charging for app fees? What are they price per square foot? So it's just paying attention to those details.
So I'm guessing by the time that, around that 18-month mark wound up, you probably felt like you'd gone a couple rounds with Mike Tyson at that point.
For sure. We were pretty beat up.
But it didn't deter you from taking the next step forward and then picking up that property called Tuscany Square in 2012.
Well, no, it didn't deter us because, like you said, we took a property that went in the wrong direction, and by paying attention to details, as they say, providing the best product for best price and turning the property around, following the roadmap. So then, we knew we could do it.
Right. We figured after going through what we went through, dealing with, all the things that we dealt with, just give you an example, he had let the insurance lapse. We found out after we got in there. We had no property insurance. So if that thing went up in flames, we would have lost all of our investment. So, we pretty much handled everything that you can imagine on that property. And so we figured, you know what, if we've been through the fire, if we can do this, what's next? Let's go. So we kept moving forward.
There's not a thing that was going to hold you guys back from success, was there?
Oh, no.
No, because we like you said, we came out on the other end. We still had our sanity. We still had our friends.
And we still made some money.
And we made money. And we made very good money. That's right. So it worked really well.
Well, that sounds like a perfect storm. I'll tell you what, we're going to break. When we come back, we're going to talk about maybe some of the things that went a little smoother for them in their investing experience. Stick around. You won't want to miss this.
Lifestyles Unlimited Executive Vice President, Business Consultant, and successful real estate investor Lynn Merle on the critical difference between those who succeed and those who fail.
Whether you have a small business, whether you are running a division of a large corporation, whether you're a CEO of a Fortune 100 company listening to us right now, or whether you work for somebody else, you have an area of responsibility and you are presented with a novel challenge by a novel virus that's going on right now. And the key to all of that is keeping your head up and looking for opportunity when what you want to do is curl up in a ball and go to sleep. And that is the critical difference between people who succeed right now and people who fail.
Lifestyles Unlimited has been helping people succeed since 1990. Join us for our free online real estate workshop and learn the 7 principles we teach to run our business and provide for our families. Register at lifestylesunlimitedworkshop.com.
Welcome back to the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show. Now, let's get back to your map to financial freedom.
Welcome back to the show. Cornell and Vivian have done a wonderful job with real estate investing. And, you know, when I kind of peel back the onion and I look at the core essence of who they are as people, first of all, there's one thing that really sticks out. And it's this: they care. They absolutely care. And most of their behavioral actions are a result of the fact that they care. And then you couple it with the fact that they're both, well, I'll use the word brilliant. They're brilliant people. They really are. They're well educated. They've worked in some very demanding careers in their life. And even though they got to a point of retirement along the way, they couldn't sit still. And they got involved with real estate investing. And some of the things that they did with the investing in the early years were difficult. And a lot of people may have just thrown up their hands and walked away, but not them, because they stayed focused on what they were trying to achieve. And they did the things that they needed to do. They surrounded themselves with like-minded individuals. They listened to the advice of mentors, and they crushed every problem that materialized in front of them. And I'll tell you what, they've done some great things. Now, I don't have enough time left in the show to get into all the other multifamily apartment communities that they've transformed. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to talk about your most current project, which is in Arlington, Texas, 103 units. And this is a property you picked up in 2019, before coronavirus. So why this particular property, which ironically it's smaller than some of the other acquisitions you've acquired, why this particular property, and what was the game plan going forward?
Well, this one, it kind of came after we had already decided we were going to just be passive. But the agent that sold one of the other properties for us brought us this one because he knew we knew the area. Arlington was our bread and butter. And so, and this particular property had been owned by the previous owner, I think, like 10 years.
Yeah, at least 10 or
15 years, something like that. And it hadn't been touched. And so normally we would be looking for something a little bit larger, but this was right in our backyard. We knew the submarket like the back of our hand, and we love a challenge. And then again, I love to decorate. So with it being not touched, I saw the opportunity to take this ugly duckling and make it into a swan. And so we decided to go ahead and jump back in, and I'm really glad we did. It's been a great, great journey for us as lead investors, for our passives, for the neighborhood, because this property's been transformed. And so it's been very, very rewarding, and that's what keeps us going. Is there's risks, but then there's a lot of rewards as well.
Yeah, I'm just right now. I'm looking at the website for the apartment community. I won't disclose, the name of it, but I'll tell you what. I'm just looking at the photo of the common area, And I would swear to God that if I didn't know that this was an apartment community, I would swear that this is some high-end custom home setting. I mean, that's the way this thing comes across to me.
Yeah, it's an unusual multifamily because most of the buildings are one-story buildings. So there's no upstairs. We have two buildings that are two-story, but it almost looks like a condo community. A lot of people will come and say, "Is this an apartment?" And we'll say, "Yeah." And they say, "Oh, I thought it was condos." So it does kind of have the appearance, or even like a senior citizens community. It kind of has that flavor because of all the one-story. It's kind of spread out. It's not real congested. And that was one of the draws as well, is that it's easy to rent the units because people really don't like having people walking upstairs above them, at all hours of the night or whatever. It can be a problem. So that was one of the draws as well to this area, to that community. And
as you said, the other draw was going into this property, it had not been touched. And I don't know if we said all the other properties that we have had, they had been touched to some point. They had been, upgraded to some point. And going in with the other properties, we always had to do something else. Even though it was upgraded, they were inconsistent from unit to unit, those type of things. Yeah. And with this property and starting off not being touched, but it gave us the opportunity to make it consistent from unit to unit to unit, from ground up. So that was one thing that attracted us to this particular apartment complex also. Yeah, and because everything, we had to touch pretty much everything on the property, we looked at it as a long-term hold. It'll be easy. The maintenance will be easy because we had new ACs, new appliances, everything was new. So we could see it being a long-term hold for us as well.
Tell me about the hoarder.
I knew you were going to go there. So we had one particular apartment where we could never get in there. He would not let us in.
Even when we first toured it.
When we first toured it, we never even saw the apartment. So we were actually having new windows put in, and we had to get into the apartment. They had to come in and take the window out. And so this particular gentleman, he was adamant about us not coming in. He just pretty much said, "Okay, I'll be out by tomorrow." And so when he left with a little knapsack. He didn't leave with anything else. And we went in there. That unit, he was a hoarder. It was horrible. It took two guys 2.5 days to clean everything out of that apartment. We took the opportunity to really transform it, and the location was good. So we made that our loft unit model. And so it was a total transformation. And the before and after pictures, like you said, Al, are amazing.
Yeah, I'll share a little secret with you guys. When we do the free workshop presentations for individuals that are interested in becoming members like you and I have done, one of the slides that's in the presentation is actually the before and the after of that particular unit. So you can actually see just how god-awful bad that thing was. And I can see why the guy didn't want you to go in there because, oh my gosh, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. But then when you look at the after picture and you see what you've been able to create, I mean, you literally went from zero to hero with that particular, not only that particular unit, but with that entire property. I mean, the whole place just looks fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been, like I said, a labor of love. It's actually been very rewarding to see how far it's come. And we get so many compliments, even from the neighbors in the neighborhood, coming and saying how nice it is to be able to drive by this property and it be clean and fixed up. And so even across the street from the property, the neighbor put up a new fence. His fence was falling down, and I think that was the reason that he was motivated to do that, because he saw improvements in the neighborhood. It was great.
Talk to me a little bit about exit strategy. And where I'm going with this, you've owned a lot of apartment communities over the years, but along the way, you've decided to relinquish ownership of some of those properties. What was the reason for doing that?
Well, it's timing. is a big thing, and also the size of the property. Some of the smaller 40 unit or 70 units are a little more difficult to manage because you don't have full-time staff. So 40 unit, we had part-time manager, part-time maintenance. We'd have to step in when they were out. So we started to go bigger, and so that necessitated selling those so that we wouldn't have such a management-intensive property. So that was one of the reasons. And the other reason is just to turn our money faster. So, as investors, we want to increase our net worth. We want to get to a point where we're financially free. And so in order to do that, we decided to sell early on the smaller ones and start to go bigger, turn that money faster. And so we got to financial freedom much quicker than we would have if we had kept a lot of equity in those properties, let's say.
So it was a planned event the entire time?
Yes, somewhat. I mean, sometimes you know where you want to go. Sometimes you don't always have the exact map, but Lifestyles helps a lot in showing us the map of where we are, where we're trying to go, and how we're going to get there. So, yeah, it was, and obviously when we first bought the small one, we didn't even realize how management intensive it would be. And then as we started to get bigger, then the light bulbs start to go off. Mentors are telling us, well, you need more staff if you don't want to be here every day. And so that's what we did.
Well, I want to thank you guys for coming on the show. We're at the end of the show, and if you want to learn how to crush it in real estate like Cornell and Vivian have done, go to freeworkshop.livestream.com.
The Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show is for entertainment purposes only. Please consult a professional regarding your personal investment needs. Nothing presented on the Lifestyles Unlimited Real Estate Investor Radio Show constitutes an endorsement, recommendation, offer, or solicitation to buy or sell any product or security.